Welcome to the Ascended Workplace. I'm Rebecca Bertram.
And I'm Adam Howard, and we're the co-founders of Ascended Consulting, where we turn generational challenges into leadership wins by creating systems of accountability.
In today's episode, we're talking about how to build a culture of accountability that actually works. So if you're leading a team right now and people are dropping the balls, missing deadlines, or just quiet quitting, the issue probably isn't laziness. It's probably a lack of clarity. And we've talked about how accountability matters, especially for Gen Z. And today we're going to walk you through step by step the process to create an accountability system that works. So we're going to break it down into 4 steps, giving you the real tools and no fluff.
All right. So if you're looking to create a better organization, we're starting with step 1, aligning your culture and your performance. The way you're going to do that to start is you're going to do an accountability audit. You're going to bring your leaders together and you're going to take a look at those values that you probably have posted on your website or on a poster in the wall, and you want to make sure that those values are actually what is driving your company.
Yeah, because some companies made those value statements like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So do they still apply?
Right.
It can be a pretty quick assessment.
Yep, quick assessment, agreement on values. And then once you have an agreement on those values, you want to identify your value-based behaviors that are going to have your greatest impact on culture and performance. These are going to be things that you can see tangibly and hear. No more than 5, ideally 3. And you're going to do that for every level of your organization. So you're really going to look and see if those behaviors are lining up to the values. Then after you do that, you're going to collect how the team wants to format their feedback, whether that's digitally, on paper, or what frequency they're going to collect that feedback and what's going to be realistic for them. So is weekly going to be realistic? Is monthly going to be realistic? Is it better to do it quarterly? Talk to the team and decide as a unit what you're going to do for your system.
And I definitely would push people to move towards a higher frequency of feedback. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, realistically, we can only do it quarterly. But if someone's out of alignment in their behaviors aren't aligning with the values that don't provide that productivity and that culture that you want, if people are out of alignment for an entire quarter before you even provide them any feedback, it's way too long. So it is important to really push people toward more frequency, but understand that balance between best state, ideal state, and being realistic for what people will actually implement.
Right, and you need to make sure that when they're implementing it, those are things that are clear and can be monitored, not something vague. It's got to be something that the supervisors, the leaders can identify easily, readily.
Yeah, so sometimes I've heard people say, oh, we just want our new team members, Gen Z, to take more initiative. And that's our values-based behavior, because that's pursuing excellence.
But what does taking initiative actually look like?
Especially at each level, right? So drilling down to, I think you said, things that you can hear and see. What does it look like? What does it sound like?
Right.
If you didn't, it's just something you say a lot, and I assumed you said
I think I did say it.
So the next step is to take all of that data and feedback that you've worked together on as a leadership team to design your actual accountability system. So you're going to determine what are the clear, actionable system that you can put into place. So it needs to include a framework for communicating your organization's core priorities. How is it communicated? And then the tools to measure the progress and deliver the meaningful feedback. So those are the things that your system must include. And it's important to not just say we're going to do these things, but to actually build in a schedule that has reminders to do those things. So everybody loves a good solid calendar invitation. Make that your friend. Or if you're using a particular project management tool where it does alerts, make sure to utilize those alerts to make sure that everyone is not just being told to do it with a certain amount of frequency, but reminded to use that frequency. So once you've kind of created that, let me back it up. Let me give you an example of what that might look like. So if an organization has determined their values and they've created some idea of when they're willing to do it, we could create a system in which there's bi-weekly digital self-assessment. So the team members might get a calendar invitation with a link, and that link has a digital format for them to reply. But that self-assessment should be short and it should be simple. Because if we want people to actually do it, remember we talk about best case scenario, sure, you'd evaluate a whole bunch of things, but are they gonna do that bi-weekly? Probably not. So if you keep it very simple, a form that can be completed in 3 to 5 minutes, they're probably gonna do it. So some examples of things you could have on it is just like multiple choice response on their level of adherence to the 3 identified values-based behaviors.
I was going to say, it goes back to the 3 that we identified in the previous step. It's
Mm-hmm.
got to be a
For
short
their
amount,
level.
so that they can access it.
Mm-hmm. So they have just those 3, like multiple choice to what level did you adhere to these value-based behaviors. And then you can also give them 2 open-ended questions. And these are really important questions. So the first one would be some form of how did you shine in your role over the last 2 weeks? What did you do well, right? Because this gives them a chance to say, hey, this is what I'm doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you a chance then, an easy win, to recognize and acknowledge what they're doing as the person who is in charge of their supervision.
You're reinforcing the value-based behavior just as a result of following the system. You're not doing anything more than just following the system you've put in place.
Yeah, it's already built in. And then you can also give them the second open-ended question you should include in that form would be something about them raising the flag to say, hey, this is an area where I need more training, or this is an area where I need more support. And then it gives the supervisor is the one who's going to review the responses that are coming in bi-weekly, and they can respond accordingly, right? They can acknowledge and recognize wins, and they can follow up to provide the support that's needed. So that's like one phase where we have the team members evaluating themselves. And the value of that isn't just like self-reflection and that open communication, but it's also reminding them of, if we've said these are what are most important, it's reminding them of the expectations, keeping it in their view every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really thinking about it, and it's staying priority number 1.
The path to success is reinstated and retold numerous times.
Yeah, which is so helpful, especially for Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, then you could have the supervisor being the one who actually completes a form about the team member, right? And that would only be, you could, as we said, you have to do what works within your organization and your culture, but that digital form could be done once a month or once every 6 weeks. Again, using the reminder or the alert on the calendar or within your project management system that you're using. And when they do it, the team member is the viewer this time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's creating this clear feedback loop where there's communication coming from both sides. And it's going to provide clear documentation that can be used to track progress and growth, which can then be used in your quarterly one-on-one check-ins. These should be done on Zoom or in person, depending on the structure of your organization. And the outcomes and next steps from that meeting should be recorded somewhere, whether it's in a digital form or you take a paper copy where you write notes during the meeting, but then you upload that into a digital file. Because we should keep all of this in personnel files, which I would call them accountability folders, something separate so that people don't see it as like a way to track where they're messing up, but instead it's just saying, how's accountability going here? What does it look like? But then you can use those folders to evaluate when you're making decisions about compensation, promotions, and if necessary, terminations. You have a lot of documentation to support your decisions, to drive your decisions, not just support them, but help you make those decisions.
Yep. Yeah, so in alignment with making decisions, we're going to move into step 3, which is about bringing that system to life. So if you're going to be able to make these hard decisions, you need a system that you can fall back on and rely on so that when you're making tough decisions, you have the support necessary to back up what you're saying or what you're going to do. Right, so it's going to be important to build a system for how the work is going to be tracked, like you said, how that feedback is going to be given, and specifically how those expectations are going to be communicated, because clarity is key and clarity is going to be kindness. When people know the rules, they're going to play better. They're going to perform at a higher level, which is just so necessary, so important. So when you're thinking about how to start that, how to literally bring the system to life, you first need to train and equip your leaders to use this system, right? Because culture is a leadership issue, not a team issue. We want to make sure that they're trained on high expectations and high support, so that when someone is struggling, they know how to lift that person up to the values-based behaviors that you already identified in the earlier steps, right? So that they can find success doing those things, right? So it's not that they're being too, it's really just a clarity concern, honestly. If you can just be clear about what you want them to go and you can help them get there, that's going to be the training for the leaders. The system we describe removes the issue of clarity and makes it uniform for everybody.
Yeah, and additionally, I think something to include in that training, not just here's the system and how to use the system, but help them to understand why the system matters. Because I think that we forget, well, I don't think we forget, I think we're painfully aware that each generation communicates and works differently.
Right.
But when we bring in this system, we're bringing a way for everyone to be working in the same format. Everyone's on the same page, everyone knows the expectations. So really helping your leaders to understand the value of making it so that Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Boomers are all speaking the same language. Because right now,
it doesn't sound like it's the same language.
Yeah.
And that's going to help build trust, right, across all generations. When you're all speaking the same language, you're talking about the same things. There's no obscurity. It's not vague. It's clear, right? So when you train your leaders on how to implement this in a systematic way, they're going to build trust with all of their employees, no matter the generation.
I love that. So after you've trained the leaders, I'm assuming we also need to train the team members. So what would be the value of that?
So we need to train the team members because they need to understand how that system is going to benefit them. They have to understand the why. And this comes up across multiple avenues of when Gen Z is giving feedback about what they want in the workplace. They need to understand why they're working the way they are, what they're working towards, how it benefits the organization, not just because I said so. So how is the system actually going to help? What does it offer them? What does it offer the organization? How does it create a path to success? How does it create a long-term plan for them? These are things that Gen Z is asking for, and these are things that the system can actually provide.
I love that. So it's really important for both the leadership to understand and for those, in the earlier levels of the organization as well. So how to implement it, but then also how utilizing it benefits you as well as participating in it. So then from there, the last step is ongoing evaluation and optimization, because we talked about deciding what format works best for your organization, what timing works best, what frequency. And so you may get into it and you have to ask yourself, evaluate, did everyone do what they were supposed to do? Why or why not? Was it that we've asked too much? Do we need to make the window a little longer between the feedback loops? And again, I would not recommend you go too long on that, or is the format too challenging? Do you need to alter the format? Is it, that digital form, is it too long? Is it asking too many questions? Things like that, so that you can evaluate and then optimize, adjust as needed. So there's a lot that takes place in that, but it's really important to be consistent and keep going. Don't give up after one quarter if you say, not everyone did it. You really need to evaluate why or why not, and then optimize as needed, because transformation isn't about one big event, it's about repeatable systems. So that consistency is going to be what makes it extremely effective.
Sustainability.
Yeah, and the reason that this works, once you have this process in place, you're going to find that you prevent burnout and you increase retention, because people are no longer going to go around feeling like they're not seen, like they're not supported, because people do need recognition and they need to know that when they struggle, there's going to be a path to help to support them and help them to grow. We actually do a whole workshop on growth mindset, and so people being able to see that their mistakes aren't defining them, but they're growth opportunities. And when you have this system in place and the way that you communicate about it, that's where that optimization definitely comes in, but you're showing people that they have the opportunity to grow. And that really makes people want to stay, because they see a path to success. Or if they are succeeding, they're seeing that they're getting recognition for the success that they already have.
What they're doing matters in the context of the organization and what the organization holds dear.
Absolutely. It's also going to create cohesion as people have clear and shared expectations, like we talked about, that language between each generation. And some people are thinking that expectations should just be like assumed, they're unspoken, but they have to be spoken, they have to be tracked, they have to be utilized for this current upcoming generation. Gen Z really needs that. So you're getting everyone all on the same page and sharing the expectations very clearly. So some things to ask yourself as you go into whether or not you need to go through this effort. You could ask yourself, what's unclear right now on your team, and how much time are you losing to vague expectations, and what would change if everyone knew exactly what success looked like? And I think if you answer those questions, you're going to find that an accountability system would really benefit you. And I know that we just talked about, like, there's a whole lot that goes into it, but it's really worth that time and that energy, because instead of being reactionary, you're being proactive and you're solving the problems before they arise. So culture isn't built by accident, it's engineered. So you should start building on purpose.
Right. And so if you listen through this and you're thinking, this sounds amazing, I need something like this, I want to try it out on my own, that's amazing. We gave you the step-by-step process for how to get started. But if you're also looking at this and saying you want some help with these steps, that's why we have our gold package on our website. You can reach out to us for a consultation, but we will work directly with your leadership team to build custom accountability systems that align culture and performance. So what you can do, you can head to ascendedconsulting.com to learn more. Check us out on social media, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with a fellow leader who's ready to level up their organization.
Until next time, stay clear, stay accountable, and lead with intention.
Thank you for listening.